Hello ladies and gentlemen, today I'd like to talk about why your internet is so slow. Let's try and understand about internet connections and a few tips thrown in to try and make it faster for you. So first of all, I suppose we better find out how we define the speed of the internet. Well, we use the term megabits per second. You don't really need to understand exactly what that means, but as a definition, about 0.5 megabits per second will allow you to listen to internet radio. About 2 megabits a second will allow you to watch a streamed video in low definition, like watching a YouTube channel. 3 megabits a second will allow you to make a Zoom call. 5 to 8 megabits will allow you to watch a high definition video stream. And 5 to 15 megabits a second will allow you to do online gaming, such as play Fortnite. And 15 to 25 megabits will allow you to watch a ultra high definition video. Just to add confusion, the internet has two speeds, download and upload. Download is when you're taking stuff from the internet and using it on your computer, such as when you stream a video. Upload is when you're sending stuff from your computer to the internet, such as when you send an email. In general, internet connections have faster downloads than uploads. It's not a fault, it's just the way internet connections are designed. Well, how do you get on the internet? Well, there are loads of different ways of doing this. You can use the mobile phone network. That's the 3G, 4G or 5G if it's available in your area to access the internet over the airwaves. You can use a cable service, normally only available in city areas. If you're lucky enough, you may have the opportunity to have fibre directly to your doorstep. That's in general the fastest way of getting the internet. But most people are stuck with either standard broadband or fibre broadband. There are in fact lots of other ways you can gain access to the internet. You can get the internet over a microwave link. That's a very popular solution for people in rural communities. If you have the money, have a satellite connection. And finally, in certain parts of the world, you may only have the option to have the old-fashioned dial-up connection. A word about mobile phone networks. There's been a number of different generations of mobile phone networks over the year. That's what the 3G stands for, third generation. 4G, fourth generation, 5G, fifth generation. If you need to access the internet on a 3G network, you may be able to get up to about 3 megabits a second. On a 4G network, it's possible that you can get speeds of up to 100 megabits a second. And a 5G network, technically, you may be able to get up to 20,000 megabits a second, or 20 gigabits per second in technical terms. Should note though that it's almost impossible to get anywhere near these speeds. So if you have a slow mobile phone network, how can you improve it? First of all, check your data plan. A lot of mobile phone providers put a limit on the maximum speed you can get using their particular plan. Next, you've got to make sure that you have good, strong signal to pick up the internet. If you don't, check to see if a different provider has a better service in your area. It's quite possible that your current provider has a poor quality signal in your area, but by moving to a different provider, you can get a much better signal, therefore faster internet. Lastly, cell towers that you connect to get to the internet are a shared commodity. If lots of people are accessing the internet over the same cell tower, then you're going to get a smaller cut of the cake. So in short, to get the best internet speeds over a mobile phone network, you need to live in an isolated part of the world right on top of a cell tower. As for cable services, if you live in a city and have access to cable service, you can expect to see a high speed from your service provider, over 500 megabits in some cases. And the only question is, if you are not receiving a high service, that's usually because you're not paying for a high speed service. To improve the speed of a cable service, pay them more money. As for fibre connected directly to your house, the speeds that you can expect to get will be very high indeed. In the UK there's a practical limit set of 910 megabits a second, but That's only an artificial constraint. The speed could be much higher than that. Again, if you find you have a slow internet connection using fibre directly to your door, then you need to contact your provider and check that you're paying for the right service. I'm not really helping, am I? I seem to be saying just contact your provider and pay more money to them. Well, if you're using a cable service or fibre directly to your house, then essentially that's all you can do. But if you're using a standard broadband or a fibre broadband link, then there are a few other things that I can help you with. So how does standard broadband work? Well, it's pretty simple really. You have a router which is connected to your telephone line. That telephone line spans the country to your local exchange. From there you get an internet service connection. Currently, if you have a standard broadband connection, the theoretical maximum speed that you'll get is 24 megabits a second. The problem is, your standard copper telephone cable is not a very good medium for sending and receiving the internet. And that problem is exacerbated even further if your home happens to be quite a long distance from the exchange. As you see from this graph, that if your home happens to be more than about 3 kilometers away from your telephone exchange, the speed goes down considerably. If your home is more than 6 kilometers away from the exchange, you'll be lucky to get an internet connection at all. Fibre broadband changes the rules slightly differently. Again, you have a router that's connected to your telephone cable. That telephone cable terminates at a telephone cabinet that hopefully is not too far away from your house. That cabinet has a fibre optic cable connected directly to the local exchange. The speed that you can get from fibre broadband is significantly better than it is if you just have standard broadband, up to about 80 megabits a second currently. Unfortunately, we have the same problem. It's not a problem between your local house and the exchange, it's your local house and the cabinet that your telephone cable terminates at. And again, this complicated graph tells you that effectively, if you want the maximum speed, you have to have the cabinet almost outside your front door. If you get down to about 1 kilometer away from the local cabinet, you'll see the speed has dropped by over half. Well, you can't change where you live, and you can't change where the telephone company puts their cabinets or indeed their exchanges. But there's a few things you can do that may help you get a faster internet connection. First of all, try to make sure your router is plugged into the master socket. The master socket looks like a normal socket, but it's split into two. Next, if you're feeling a bit hands-on, what you can do is check the speed of your internet. You can do this by going to Google and type in speed test, and that will pull up a little program that will allow you to check your current internet speeds. After you check the speed, go to the master socket, remove the two screws and ease the bottom plate away to reveal another telephone socket. This is called the test socket. Plug your router into the test socket and then rerun the speed tests. If you find that the speed is considerably higher with the router plugged into the test socket, this indicates that your internal telephone extensions are proving a problem. At this point, you can get an engineer in to fix the issue. Finally, and this may seem silly, turn your router off and leave it off for about 30 minutes. I know, it's the old computer engineer, turn it off and back on again. Well, you can do that first of all, but the problem is if you turn the router off and back on again, the exchange remembers the session that router was on. The session is like a handshake that you do when the router is turned on. Now, if you have a session that's gone bad, by turning it off and back on again, the session will remain and you'll still have slow internet. But if you turn it off for 30 minutes, the exchange will reset your session, and when you turn the router on, it'll create a new session and the problem will go away. And finally, and this is probably the thing that you're going to do the most, is if you have problems with your internet, if it's gone intermittent or it's really slow compared with your neighbours, then call up your broadband provider. It's usually an external problem which you can't actually tackle yourself. You have to call in the telephone engineers to sort it out for you, because actually you pay a substantial amount of money every month for line rental, and the purpose of that money is to make sure the external cabling is up to scratch. So you pay for the service, you might as well use it. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you again soon.